What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam and welcome back to another Comically Boston Weekly Nerdy News Monday morning episode where we talk about everything that happened in the last week in nerddom. And actually today we're starting out with some breaking news that just dropped this morning. As I was waking up, I saw this all over social media, and that is that there will be no more pay-per-views in 2026 for UFC as they sign a monumental deal with Paramount and CBS. So now these pay-per-view fight weeks, you know, these fights will be able to be streamed just on Paramount, or they'll be airing right on cable television on CBS. You know, so this is quite big for the UFC fans out there. If you were somebody that, like myself, I was a huge UFC fan throughout high school, you know, watching Conor McGregor fight. You know, anytime he fought, we were all over our buddy's house watching those fights, you know, and it was incredible time. And then even, you know, growing out of high school, and I was doing jiu-jitsu for a couple of years, even though I haven't been back in a while. I'm sure there's some jiu-jitsu people watching. Anybody from Gorilla Crew, I fucking love you. But I haven't really been watching the fights more recently because I didn't want to spend $75 every single time there's a UFC fight, and they happen quite a lot, you know. So, and I didn't want to, you know, pay for the ESPN Plus subscription to be able to, like, you had to pay for the ESPN Plus and then you had to pay for the pay-per-view on top of it. So it wasn't really worth it to me, you know. And then my sister had the ESPN subscription, so then I didn't have to pay for that. So then I'd pay for the UFC fights when they were good fights, like maybe Calvin Kattar or Max Holloway, or, you know, any of these fighters like Paddy Pembleton or whatever the fuck his name is, Paddy the Baddy, you know, any of these fighters that I like that are newer. You know, even Israel Adesanya, who was one of my favorite fighters, hasn't won a fight in a while, you know, like, what is it, Botan, Alex Pereira, right? Like, there's some great fighters out there that, like, if they're fighting and it's a good match, I'm not gonna miss it. But, you know, that I haven't watched a UFC fight in a good while, probably since the last time Paddy the Baddy fought Michael Chandler, you know. It was, and I didn't even really watch that entire card, I just watched that fight, you know. So this, for the people like me that have maybe been more casual UFC fans, maybe this will be a good way for us to get back into UFC in a more accessible way to watch the UFC fights, where you're not going to have to buy pay-per-views. And Dana White released this statement after signing the deal, and he says, "This historic deal with Paramount and CBS is incredible for UFC fans and our athletes. For the first time ever, fans in the US will have access to all UFC content without pay-per-view model, making it more affordable and accessible to view the greatest fights on a massive platform. This deal puts UFC amongst the biggest sports in the world. The exposure provided by the Paramount and CBS networks under their new structure is a huge win for our athletes and anyone who watches and loves this sport." And he's absolutely correct. It will, you know, be great for all brands around. You know, it'll be great for Paramount. It will be great for CBS, you know, putting these athletes that, you know, maybe are household names or just UFC fan names on live cable television. You're telling me there isn't old people in the South that just still have cable that are just flipping channels and they won't go, "Oh wait, there's some people fighting, I'll watch," you know? Like, come on now. Like, but this is a huge deal for them, and, you know, a huge deal for, I guess, the States. He said only in the United States, so maybe around the world you still have pay-per-views, so that sucks for you guys. But for the States, man, hey, no more pay-per-view. But yeah, so pay-per-views are over, and the UFC announces this deal with Paramount, and it is worth $7.7 billion for 7 years. So he's making $1.1 billion per year off of just this Paramount deal, and all numbered events will be on CBS for free, right? So they have 20 events a year or something like that, 13, you know, pay-per-view, you know, UFC 301, whatever, and then there's like fight nights on top of that. So, like, you know, there's a good amount of fights that we'll be able to see, you know, and a little bit over one per month per year, you know, with 13 in the year. I'm very excited to see this, and I can't wait to get my hands on some pre-UFC events and being able to watch UFC just on my TV at home and not having to pay for pay-per-view. That'll be sick. kind of like WWE's been for the last couple of years with Peacock and what's been going on there with now Netflix and shit too. You're not going to have to pay for pay-per-view for those, but that might not be a thing, you know, because WWE premium live events are heading to ESPN platforms in 2026. So ESPN had UFC, so now the UFC and ESPN parted ways. So Disney and ESPN lost UFC to Paramount and CBS, which is a huge loss, but then they gained WWE. So I'm thinking WWE will, Monday Night Raw will still be on Netflix, SmackDown will still be on USA, and then the pay-per-view events might actually be pay-per-view again, which when I was a kid, they were all pay-per-view, and it was crazy, because I was like, you know, always begging my mom, like, oh, come on, can we stay up late on this Sunday to watch this thing? And it wouldn't start till 9, and then it'd go till midnight. Now they're starting at 6 on a Saturday, going till 10, and then having a second night on Sunday, both of them for free. You know, so that's crazy to me that, you know, UFC, out of all things, is going to be free now and on streaming platforms, and the WWE will be going back to probably pay-per-view events, which is crazy, unless it's just going to be streaming, you know, the same way it does on Peacock on ESPN, which I'm hoping that's the case. But WWE people were like, we're gonna have to pay for pay-per-views again? What the fuck? You know, like, so pissed. But that also goes to show that even though it's fake wrestling, the WWE brings in fucking numbers, baby, and they are one of the most profitable businesses out there today, especially for sports, you know, and sports entertainment. But speaking of some sports, Tom Brady, the man, myth, the legend himself, had his statue revealed at the Pats preseason opener the other day, and all I'm saying is D Wade, his statue guy, should have called Tom Brady statue guy, because his statue looks sick, and you can see Tom Brady in this photo here with Robert Kraft and him walking around it, and just the statue itself's got to be 20 feet tall. Like, it is huge. And it's right out front, you know, the stadium, and it's perfect. Right out front, Gillette Stadium, big old statue. It's got Tom Brady on the front, all of his championships that he won with New England around the base of the statue. And then the statue itself, you know, has incredible detail, and it really does capture the look of him. Now, granted, he's not screaming like D Wade's picture, like D Wade chose a hard pose for them to do, but they really captured Tom Brady's likeness here. And the little touches of the eye black on the statue itself, the little touches looked great. And I think, you know, as far as statues go, any statue going forward, give Tom Brady's guy a call there. We don't need any more D Wade's or Cristiano Ronaldo statues out there where they're just, oof, they're tough to look at. But speaking of football and heading into some movie news, there is a movie produced by Jordan Peele, and it reminds me of like a horror football movie, like almost like what OJ probably was really like. I don't know, but I believe this is Marlon Wayans, and he is in this movie as like a, you know, Tom Brady-esque super champion of football, and this movie takes like this weird turn, and there's this other poster with this guy that, I mean, I have no idea who this actor is, so I can only really describe him as a young Aaron Hernandez looking motherfucker covered in blood, and he's like holding footballs and shit. Like, what is this movie? It's a football movie, or is it about murder? Like, is it a horror movie, or is it a sports movie? I don't know, but horror is in right now, so I'm sure this movie will do well, and Jordan Peele, you know, knows how to pick them. So, you know, if he produced this film, it's gotta be good. And, you know, it says greatness demands sacrifice. What is going on with this film? And here's the last poster for him. And it's got that same kid quarterback that we were just looking at. And he's got to be like this like mentee to the other, you know, Hall of Fame quarterback type of deal. But like it's Marlon Wayans and this other kid. Like, I have no idea what's going on with this movie. But it's rated R, and that looks creepy as hell. But it's also sports. So like, comment below if you know anything else about him, but that looks creepy, and that's coming to theaters September 19th, so comment below if you'll be checking that out next month. Brief little bit of Star Wars news, as Matt Smith has been cast in Sean Levy's Star Wars Starfighter, and he will be playing the villain across from Ryan Gosling, probably, and maybe alongside Mia Goth, and it'll be kind of like them two are like the bad people of this movie, as Ryan Gosling's like your hero of this film. I don't know, but Sean Levy's Star Wars film seems to be in the works, so just cool that we have, you know, Mandalorian and Grogu coming out next year, probably Ahsoka Season 2 as well, and we got some more Star Wars shit in the fucking works. We got, you know, Daisy Ridley and another Rey movie in the works. James Mangold's apparently working on a Star Wars movie. I mean, he's very busy doing other projects, but he still has a Star Wars movie in mind that he wants to work on. And then there's also that Taika Waititi Star Wars film. So, I don't know. So, more Star Wars stuff coming in the future, although I don't know what's next for Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like, in the past, it was like, oh, there was this coming, and then that, and then this, you know, and like, previous San Diego Comic-Cons gave us this like runway of like, oh, this is what's coming next, and then this is the stuff coming down the line. We haven't gotten that in a few years, so it feels nice to have kind of like a, I wonder what's next type of thing, you know, like for them, other than Mandalorian and Grogu, I don't know what else comes out in between, or if it's just Mandalorian and Grogu we're waiting for next May, or whenever that comes out in 2026. But moving on to another movie poster, and this is a first poster for a movie called Cold Storage, starring Liam Neeson, Joe Keery from Stranger Things, I believe, and Georgina Campbell. And this is a comedic thriller, and it follows a fungus stored in a government facility that escapes and wreaks havoc on the world. So something in this cold storage is wreaking havoc through the world, and it's up to Liam Neeson, Joe Keery, and Georgina Campbell to stop it. Pretty interesting. And it says, from the screenwriter of Jurassic Park and the producer of Zombieland, and taking over theaters in 2026. So, interesting. Comment below if you're interested in that type of movie. If you're, you know, a Joe Keery person, if you're like a lover of Stranger Things, or maybe you're a lover of Liam Neeson. You just watched his last comedy, The Naked Gun, you know, which got decent reviews. So I wonder if people really went and saw it in theaters, and if it will make a profit or whatnot. But I heard that was really funny, and I've been wanting to see it. But that's his next comedy coming out. The next movie we're talking about is Highlander, starring Henry Cavill, and The Hollywood Reporter just released a cast update of the Highlander movie, and Dave Bautista has finalized negotiations to play the villain in Amazon's MGM remake of the 1980s cult classic Highlander. So this is definitely an older film that is getting remade, and I believe Henry Cavill will be the guy, Highlander himself, and it looks like Dave Bautista is going to be the villain. Also starring Russell Crowe and Marissa Abela, so decent little cast going on there, and you got Henry Cavill as your leading man, Dave Bautista as the leading villain. Big role for Bautista, but hey, shout out, you know, Henry Cavill, Dave Bautista. I love both of them, and Russell Crowe. So I haven't seen the other Highlander movies, although one commenter did recommend them to go check those out. But then when I did, I realized that there was a lot of Highlander movies, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to embark on that right now. But I might have to when that remake comes out. I might have to go back, watch the old Highlanders, see if the new one compares or is better. Who knows? Now, something I'm very excited for, and this update comes from Deadline through the Discussing Film Twitter account. I love Discussing Film. They always drop some updates that I'm always like, yeah, I could trust their opinion, because they at least put their source in, like, you know, you could trace back sometimes to see if he's like, all right, that's real. Very rarely do I ever see Discussing Film post something that isn't true. But Kevin Hart and John Cena will star in a new action comedy, The Leading Man, for Netflix. So it definitely sounds like a Netflix movie. But the film follows a self-absorbed movie star who discovers that his co-star is a secret agent. So, is John Cena the self-absorbed movie star that is, you know, a dickhead, and Kevin Hart's the secret agent? Or is Kevin Hart the self-absorbed movie star and then John Cena is the secret agent? You know, John Cena's got the build for a security guard type of thing, so if he was a secret agent trying to like protect Kevin Hart, I could see that happening quite a bit. But I think it would be funnier if John Cena was the douche and Kevin Hart's protecting this big juiced up guy. You know what I mean? Like, that kind of might be funny. And I'm definitely going to be here for watching this, and it seems like Kevin Hart and John Cena should have done a movie a long time ago together. But I think I'm gonna like these two pairing up together far more than I like him and The Rock pairing up together. And Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart work great together. So I'm thinking Kevin Hart and John Cena will be so funny together. And at the very least, I can't wait for that press tour because I know it's gonna be hilarious. Speaking of hilarious press tours, or maybe not so hilarious, but the last Wicked press tour was a little much for some people, but there is new character posters for Glinda and Ariana Grande's Glinda, and her dress looks like a strawberry mint cupcake. And that is coming to theaters November 21st, along with a Elphaba Throp, played by Cynthia Erivo. And she has a more Wicked Witch poster with the flying monkeys in the background. It's more green, less colorful and pink and beautiful, and more green and dark. I loved Cynthia Erivo in that movie. Oh, honestly, one of my most anticipated movies of the rest of 2025, I can't believe I'm saying it, is Wicked for Good. And I liked Wicked. I didn't love it, but I loved Cynthia Erivo. You know, the first movie for me, Ariana Grande, was really what I was like, But, like, you know, the rest of the cast was stellar. The filmmaking was beautiful. Like, the shots in that look incredible. And then their voices are beautiful. But Cynthia Erivo, that bitch, crushed it. And I can't wait to see her crush it again, all over again in the second film. And at least in the second film, I think, you know, the Wizard of Oz cast of, you know, the Cowardly Lion, the Tin Man, Scarecrow, you know, Dorothy, I think they're in the second movie. So that, for me, will be able to tie a little bit closer to what I know of this world. I haven't necessarily seen the Wicked play, but I'm very excited for Wicked 2. Comment below your thoughts on Wicked. Another movie in the works just recently confirmed, but probably going to be very good because her last film, Barbie, was a banger. But Greta Gerwig's Narnia movie has begun filming, and it is starring Emma Mackey, Daniel Craig, Carey Mulligan, and Meryl Streep, and releases next year on Netflix and in IMAX theaters. So a Netflix film, but she's pushing for a theatrical release, so I wonder if it will be theatrical and then come to Netflix, or be one of those that comes out on Netflix and in theaters, and then, you know, gives people the option to go pick. But then those movies don't tend to do well in the box office because some people, why would I go see it in the theaters and spend money? I'm already spending money on Netflix. I'll just watch it at home, you know? Like, for me, James Gunn's The Suicide Squad a couple years ago was in theaters, but it came out for free on HBO Max. Why wouldn't I watch it at home? I have a pretty sweet setup at home, but the movie person in me is, you know, kicking myself because I would have died to see that on a big screen, you know? Probably would have hit so much different. But it is what it is. Comment below if you're going to go see the Narnia remake from Greta Gerwig. I think that's going to be sick. In the cast in that, Carey Mulligan, Emma Mackey, Meryl Streep, Daniel Craig, like, that sounds unbelievable. But moving on to some Marvel, Sony adjacent news, that there is a new Spider-Punk animated film in the works with Daniel Kaluuya returning to voice his character, and I think he might be, like, in the works of, like, writing and working this out. Like, I think he might be one of the people pushing this forward type of thing, which is cool because Spider-Punk was not only one of the best characters from that second movie. If it's not him, I mean, Ghost Spider or Spider-Gwen or, you know, Spider-Girl, whatever you want to call her, she would be the only other character that I would really want to see, like, a solo project for and, like, dive deeper into that character. I mean, maybe Miguel, 2099, Peter Porker, the Spider-Pig, John Mulaney's voiced character. I mean, yeah, there's a couple funny ones. I mean, Nicolas Cage's Spider-Noir is getting a live-action show, so, I mean, that's kind of cool. But, you know, maybe this is an animated project that kind of is like Spider-Man Noir, where we end up seeing Daniel Kaluuya as Spider-Punk in live action. I mean, I wouldn't be mad at that. That would be cool as hell. I mean, Daniel Kaluuya, though, that voice of that character, the first time I saw it in theaters, I was like, I can't understand a word that's coming out of his mouth, but he sounds so cool that I love it. And then by the time I watched it at home with subtitles and actually got what he was saying, friggin' hilarious character. It really is. here's a new image from Jon Bernthal's The Punisher special presentation that has wrapped filming in New York. So I'm wondering if he'll go from New York over to Glasgow and start filming maybe some stuff for Spider-Man Brand New Day. Or like I said in my last Weekly Nerdy News when we were talking about behind the scenes stuff of the Punisher special presentation and Spider-Man Brand New Day, maybe Bernthal is filming some of his Spider-Man stuff while they were filming in New York, you know, like they were already on set with him in costume and in New York. Why not have him film some of his stuff for another project? You know, two birds, one stone type of thing. I don't know, but his suit and like his hair looks so black, like his beard and his hair looks so dark that, I mean, it makes me feel like it's dyed, but that could just be Jon Bernthal growing out his hair and beard again, because he's just an ultra aggressive male. I mean, if you ever seen him in some of his work, he's just, you know, like he's just got so much manly, masculine energy inside that man, you know what I mean? Like, Jon Bernthal, you know, like. But moving on to the last topic of today, Spider-Man Brand New Day and the filming in Glasgow and the behind the scenes shots that people, because they're filming just outside, have been able to get, have been insane. And we'll go through some of those in a second. But I love this fan-made poster, one batch, two batch, Spidey and Dime. And you got Hulk in one of his lenses and the Punisher in the other lens. And it says July 31st, coming to theaters, 2026. Ooh, can't wait. Can't believe we're less than a year out for that. But some of these behind the scenes shots, like this video here, is crazy. Like, that's insane. Like, they're practically using a rig, swinging through the streets of Glasgow. Like, that's crazy. Like, that Justin Daniel Cretton was able to let them go, hey, I mean, it might be a stunt guy, but I've seen a lot of these shots with Tom Holland in the freaking suit. Like, look at this shot of, like, the rig with them standing on it. And there's guys obviously pulling wires to make him go back and forth. But they're smart because they have wires hooked up to him to make sure he's safe. But they also have him holding a wire. So it's like he's thwipping, grabbing a wire, and the web is what's pulling him across. And then he's grabbing another one and it's pulling him across. Like, wow, this looks good. And like just this shot, like this looks incredible with like the cop car and the buses and like how he's damn near touching the building. And like this could be a shot of him like swinging in front of the Daily Bugle and like, or maybe doing that shot from like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man where like we just see him swinging off in the distance and he's like, wahoo! And then we get the as he runs across the side of a building, you know, like, I mean, what if they do that for real? Like, that could be so sick. I doubt Toby had any rig like this where he was swinging through the streets. And then Tom and Dustin Daniel Cretton seem so happy to be working together, and they've been all smiles in every picture that I've seen of them on set together. And Dustin Daniel Cretton, you know, doing this after Shang-Chi is so huge, and I'm so excited for him, and he seems to be loving it. And Tom seems to be loving it. Some of the behind-the-scenes featurettes that they've put out, like, that is him in the Spider-Man suit, hooked up to the wires, on top of this moving tank. Like, what is happening here? Like, I gotta know so bad. Like, is this the Punisher in the tank? Is this another character we don't know? Is this Mr. Negative? Look at that camera rig on there. Just look how good this suit looks. Like, Tom is fucking Spider-Man. He's just really being Spider-Man right now. Like, he's not even in a studio where it feels like they're filming a movie. He's swinging through the streets of Glasgow. Like, he probably feels so much more like Spider-Man than he's ever felt in his entire career thus far as Spider-Man. Like, that looks sick. Rock Ryder, his account on Twitter, he keeps putting out these great graphics of Spider-Man and, you know, fan-made posters and stuff from the Spider-Man Brand New Day filming. But he pointed out this interesting detail of the Tom Holland Spider life cycle. And the first time we saw him in Captain America Civil War, his spider logo was this tiny little spider logo, and he kind of was an egg sac. And then he was an egg hatchling in Spider-Man Homecoming. And then he was a baby spider, and it just grew a little bit in Far From Home. And then he was a young spider in No Way Home. And now he's an adult spider in Brand New Day. And the spider symbol has evolved and grown and keeps growing, and now it is the biggest it's been in Brand New Day. And now it's kind of inspired by Andrew and Toby and his other brothers in Spider-Man arms that he's met throughout the multiverse. Like, that's so cool. Even though, you know, everybody forgot who Peter Parker was, Spider-Man himself has not forgotten the events of No Way Home and everything that's happened before this, right? So the only thing that really happened is that the rest of the world now isn't attacking Peter Parker for being Spider-Man and killing Mysterio. They're just probably still mad that, like, Spider-Man killed Mysterio, but they don't know Spider-Man is Peter Parker. You know what I mean? Like, because even at the end of No Way Home, Happy walks up, because Happy still had a relationship with May, but now through that relationship, he doesn't know Peter Parker is her nephew or even Spider-Man. But he does know Spider-Man, because he says, you know, how did you know her? And Tom goes, through Spider-Man. And he goes, how'd you know her? Yeah, through Spider-Man. So, you know, he still has that Tony Stark connection to Spider-Man, but they just don't know that he's Peter Parker, is the way I see it. You know, comment below if you saw the end of that mind wipe spell in Spider-Man No Way Home differently, but that's how I see it going into this next movie, is that nobody knows Peter Parker, but they do know Spider-Man and the accolades Spider-Man has done. Like, they might even go, oh yeah, Spider-Man and that crazy bullshit that happened on the Statue of Liberty, I can't believe he destroyed the Captain America shield that they were putting on the Statue of Liberty. You know, like, they might say that, but they might not go, that's Peter Parker underneath that mask, you know? Like, and hopefully that means that MJ will have to figure it out again like she did in the first couple movies, where in Far From Home, she's like, I figured it out, you're Spider-Man. You know, he's like, no I'm not, and I really am Spider-Man. And she's like, really? I was only 70% sure. And then she's like, I figured it out, you know? Like, oh god. But I'm gonna miss Ned in her knowing who Peter is, you know? Like, it's always nice to have somebody on our hero's team that knows what's going on, even though the rest of the world doesn't, you know? Like, it's kind of like us as an audience. We identify with them like, yeah, we're his buddies, we know what's going on, but nobody else does. But just to wrap up today, couple of rumors that have been going out this week, and that is that Sadie Sink's character in Spider-Man Brand New Day will be Gwen Stacy, and they're trying to swing that she's going to be Gwen Stacy Spider-Gwen in this Brand New Day. And I don't know if we need a Gwen Stacy in Tom Holland's lineup. Me personally, I would much rather see, maybe not Sadie Sink, but maybe more of like a Sydney Sweeney be a Black Cat, Felicia Harding, for this Tom, you know, Spider-Man. That would be, I think, much more sexy, but also interesting to this audience, as, like, we've never really seen Spider-Man dating or having, like, a girl interested in him that wasn't MJ, you know what I mean? Or he's always just been saving the day. He hasn't necessarily had a moment to swing off with the girl in the sunset, you know? Like, even in his last movie, he saves the day, and it's a sad kiss, you know? Like, you see them kiss, it's like, oh, wow, they're kissing, but this might be the last kiss they ever fucking have, because nobody's gonna know who he is anymore! Like, fuck! What the fuck? Oh, God, that was such a crazy decision to make it like, oh, everyone's gonna forget who he is, and then just kind of like, alright, that was some years ago, let's just sit and see how people react, and we're all sitting here like, Tom? Like, Spider-Man, come back, you know? Like, so at least we know that there's the next installment being filmed, and hopefully it connects pretty directly, and we can, you know, discuss what happened over the time period between then and now, you know? Like, how does he get this Spider-Man suit, and how is he out in public doing his thing again, you know? Like, is he giving up on his Peter Parker persona and he's just being Spider-Man now? If so, I know the landlord's going to be mad when rent comes around and he doesn't have rent, you know? So then he's going to get kicked out on his ass. And then he's just going to be, what, swinging around, sleeping in webs? You know, you're going to make a little hammock web and sleep on the side of a building in his Spider-Man suit? Gross. Kid needs a shower. But just to end today with a little bit of rumor, but also some speculation, I want to know what you guys think. Michael Mando keeps posting Scorpion stuff, and we do know that Scorpion will be back for Brand New Day, but the Scorpion we saw him, the only real thing that made him the Scorpion was the fact that he had a Scorpion tattoo on his neck. So this post that he keeps putting out is Scorpion in the comics when Scorpion meets Venom. So, and he posted a second one the other day with Venom in the front here, and then like Scorpion in the back with like Venom Scorpion. So maybe instead of like Mr. Negative in this, maybe it's Venom. Like maybe Venom is the reason that like this is all happening. And then, you know, maybe Venom takes over Scorpion, or maybe they're working together. All I'm saying is I hope we get a live action Scorpion with the Scorpion costume, like the full suit with the green tail, you know, like really, really cool Scorpion, like character, a really good villain for Spider-Man that hasn't been used as much as it could be. Maybe in animation, but not, you know, not in live action. I mean, Scorpion in the Spider-Man PlayStation video game is pretty great, you know, and he looks great in that as well. But even in that, he doesn't have a huge role. He's just one of the Sinister Six, you know, and then he comes back later for, like, the Scorpion poison. But then, like, in the Spider-Man 2, you know, fucking Venom and Kraven don't have a lot to say about Scorpion, you know? Like, and you move on to some of his other better villains, and it's like, God, I wish we kept him alive a little bit longer. Did a little bit more with Scorpion, say Rhino. Some of his villains that are maybe not as big as a Green Goblin or an Electro or Venom or Kraven, you know, but still cool as hell. Like Doc Ock, you know, like there's some versions of the live action that I really want to see. And I mean, we got to see Vulture, and that was pretty freaking sick, you know, like I never thought that they'd do a live action Vulture, you know, good, but Michael Keaton crushed it, you know, in that one scene from Homecoming where he's like, good old Spider-Man, his like face lights up green from the stoplight changing. Oh, so good, so good. But comment below, do you want to see Michael Mando as the Scorpion in the full Scorpion suit? Or, because at the very end of Spider-Man No Way Home, there was that post-credit scene where Tom Hardy was in that bar and then gets sucked back into his universe and a little piece of Venom goo stayed in this universe. So is that just because we need Tom Holland to get into the black suit and be the Spider-Venom suit for Doomsday and Secret Wars? Maybe. But I'm thinking maybe because of Venom 3, that piece of Venom is just like fixed, you know, like that, because they do show in that movie when he gets sucked back into his universe, they show Chiwetel Ejiofor, who is Mordo in the MCU, grabbing the goo with like this little test tube and then bringing it back to their lab. So like he contained it so it didn't grab on to friggin' Danny Rojas, the bartender there from Ted Lasso. You know, like, so if that is just in the Sony Venom universe and we're not going to be getting Tom Hardy's Venom in this universe, does Marvel want that little piece of Venom goo at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home to still be there in this universe? And if so, who does that Venom grab onto? Maybe a Michael Mando's Scorpion. Maybe just Peter himself. And then that Spider-Man, that's good old jolly Peter, ends up becoming darker. But as far as what we've seen shooting from them in Glasgow, he's still in his red and blue suit, so he's not Venom yet, and he seems to be saving the day. I mean, I saw a video clip of them filming today of him standing on the side of, like, the tank, like he's pulling it, turning it. So clearly what they've been shooting over the last couple weeks has just been this chase car fight sequence on the road with this tank. So, you know, they still have quite a bit of filming to do, but it is so cool how much they're getting in camera and in practical and not CGI, and I think the movie's going to look all the better for it. Sure, there's going to be CGI and tons of VFX in this because they have to paint out the rig, paint out the wires, but having, even when they now do, even if they have to do it entirely in CG after the fact, they now have this plate of what it really looks like for this guy to be swinging through the streets, you know, like, it looks incredible, and I can't believe that we're getting a world where Spider-Man 4 is shooting in the streets, you know, like it's not completely under wraps and like covered and, you know, nobody can see it. Like there's thousands of people in the streets of Glasgow right now just filming and taking pictures, and some of the shots that they're getting of Spider-Man and of Tom Holland on set, and then people are taking and making album covers and like taking that picture and making parody movie posters out of it, and it has been incredible to see the hype for this movie and how much people want this Spider-Man and how excited people are and how big this character is, because just the character just being outside, people are losing their minds, and you know, and this is how you build hype for a movie a year out. Like, you don't need to keep it necessarily all under wraps, because even the stuff they're showing, we have no idea what's happening other than the fact that he's on top of a tank. I don't know, like, does that ruin it when it comes out in the movie? I don't think so. We have no idea who's in the tank, why he's on top of this tank. Like, we have no idea if it's going to be, you know, a bad guy in there, or maybe he's trying to stop it because a friend's in there. I don't know, like, we have no idea. But it's going to be sick when it comes out, and I can't wait to find out. And if you made it this far in the video, I highly appreciate you guys. My name's Big Kim. Thank you guys for sticking along this long in the video. And if you'd like to follow my other social medias, links for those down in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel, the best way to do that is dropping a like, a comment down in the comment section below, subscribing if you haven't already, and make sure you hit that bell so you don't miss future Comically Bostons and you get the notifications when they come out. Make sure you stay tuned later this week. We got Alien Earth Comically Boston breakdown episode coming out, breaking down that first episode of that show. Or if it drops like bundle, maybe it dropped 1, 2, or 3 episodes at once. I'm hoping it's just one. But first episodes for Alien Earth breakdown coming out this week. And then Peacemaker Season 2 drops next week. So stay tuned for some more Comically Boston TV show episode breakdowns coming to the channel. As well as Monday morning weekly nerdy news whenever they come out on Monday, but I always film them on Monday and put them out Monday evening at some point. But that's it for me, y'all, and I will see you beautiful people in the next one. Peace!